So my name's Heidi Eager. I'm the communications person at WED, the Winneshiek Energy District. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to Kyle from the Rural Renewable Energy Alliance. Is that right? Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a bit of a mouthful.
It's a good one, though. Thanks for joining us and telling us about your organization. Go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share about the work we do, put together a little presentation for you. It should take about 30 minutes or so to get through, and then I can answer any questions. And I'm getting used to how the Zoom thing works. You can leave questions in the chat box, and um, or if you feel it's pertinent, you can interrupt me. But I think I prefer to field most of them after I'm finished, just so we don't get too lost in with time. But yes, so I represent the Rural Renewable Energy Alliance today, also REAL for short, RREAL, to save that. um, yeah, in our mission is to make solar energy accessible to people of all income levels. We've been around since 2000, and we're stationed in north central Minnesota, specifically the town of Cactus. I don't know if too many of you are familiar with the area, but it's kind of between well it's in the Brainerd Lakes area. If you are familiar. I like to start with this slide and talking about solar energy, and some of you might know about the history and know a little bit more about solar energy than others, so just bear with me through this part. But it's fun to start with this one just to show that solar energy is a reliable resource that has been used since the beginning of time. It's nothing new, as I have there on the slide. And some of you may know where this is. This is the Mesa Verde cliff dwellings and what is now Southwest Colorado. And it's home to some of the best preserved Puebloan archaeological sites in the world. So I like to show this photo in particular. I think it's a particularly genius design, but yet a simple technology. And it's kind of funny how integrating solar power into designs of of our buildings, our communities, kind of come and go. And I'll get into that in the history of solar energy here. But it's pretty basic. It gives you the idea that the way that this is set up allows the people to harness the energy of the sun in the wintertime when the sun is low on the horizon, while be able to stay relatively cool in the summer months when the sun is high in the horizon. It's a fairly basic passive solar concept. Move the chats here so I can see. Yeah, so getting into how photovoltaics were developed. On the left-hand side, you see the first PV system ever installed in the late 1800s, like 1884, I believe, by inventor Charles Fritz. And this is on a rooftop somewhere in New York. And the semiconductive material at the time was cellular, and it had about a 1% efficiency. And when you rate efficiency for solar panels, you're looking at the output of the panel versus the amount of space that the panel consumes. And then we found that silica later in the 50s was a much more widely available, more affordable, more practical, had more solar potential semiconductive material. And that's found everywhere because it's in sand. So, and we actually have some of the best larger crystal pieces, more higher quartz concentrated sand here in the Midwest. So actually, a fun fact is the majority of the sand used in the process of refining to create the silicon-based PV modules, most of that mining's done here in the Midwest. About 35%, I believe, of uh, the global solar industry's use, just because it does have that high quartz concentration, and it saves a lot of time and energy in the refining process. So the photo on the right-hand side is from the 1950s, where you see some of the first um, silicon-based PV modules, which had a rating at the time of about 6%. Now today we're at about 15 to 20% in efficiency. However, there is a so it's amazing how far we've come along and how much the price in PV modules has dropped. Like I said, our organization's been around since 2000, so I'll sometimes go back in old client project folders and find the price for a single module is somewhere around $700, $600, which is insane considering how the typical like 3 foot by 5 foot module that you see installed today will cost somewhere between $250 and $350. So and is more efficient. However, there's a theoretical cap on how efficient silicon-based uh, PV modules can be, and that's calculated from the Renewable Energy Research Lab in Colorado to be probably somewhere around 30%. But we'll see how close we come to it. It's exciting to see how increasingly efficient things have come in the recent past. But on the left-hand side of this slide, you see solar being deployed on a more how do I say, national level, becoming more popularized. It was popular at the time for solar to be installed on telephone poles to supply electrical power to electrical equipment in rural areas that electricity was hard to come by. This was very expensive to do at the time, but it was the most practical solution at the time, while a lot of the electrical grid was, still being deployed to some rural areas. I like to show this advertising photo on the right-hand side. This is from the 40s, and this is a solar thermal water heat system from Day and Night Solar Heater Company. This is an example of a system that you saw a lot of in places like Florida in the 40s. So in the 40s in Florida, about 50% of homes had some sort of solar energy system, typically a solar thermal water heating system. However, after the war, apparently raw materials and just the general cost of electricity went down so substantially that the main utility in the state, I think it's Florida Power and Light, it was still today, and at the time, Florida Power and Light, was encouraging its customers to actually use more electricity, and they were instead pushing electric water boilers at the time, and it kind of brought the solar water heat industry to its knees. So the reoccurring theme here is it's just interesting to see solar come and go, and of course you don't like to see people not utilizing the great solar resource, especially in Florida to heat up their water, but that's probably what you're all used to in advocating for solar policies, and how other methods can be well can be considered cheaper, but well, not necessarily cheaper in the long run, but and these are fun. Of course, solar was uh, it had even more of a push during the space race because up there that is sometimes people almost forget that's all that is utilized for energy. Of course, it's in a perfect vacuum without the atmosphere, so it does very, very well in space. But of course, on the right, I have the International Space Station, and then on the left-hand side, it's just a fun photo to show, give people an idea of a good standalone system solution. It's a solar on the back of a camel, used to keep, I think, vaccinations cool, somewhere walking across the desert in some rural place in Africa. But and it's no secret that solar energy is a relatively clean form of energy. And when I say clean, you all probably know what I mean. It's that it doesn't emit any carbon emissions while it's in use. Now, the little bit that you do see calculated on this chart is carefully taking into account the carbon involved in manufacturing, deploying, maintaining these systems. But other than that, you all probably know that while it's running, it does not emit any carbon into the atmosphere. Here's to give you a sense of how solar energy is deployed in our country. We currently have about 11% of renewables. This is in 2019. I wasn't able to find a more up-to-date graph like this one. So I'd like to think it's expanded a little bit more since then. However, I would reckon it's still under 15% of our grid being supplied by renewables, and then of that percent, you'll see only 9% of it is solar, which accounts overall to just shy of 2% total. So we have a long way to go. The United States has a lot of solar deployed. We have the single largest solar farm in the world, but on a per capita basis, we're still behind countries like Germany or Japan, um, and I think a couple notable others. This is to show how the industry has grown. It's still one of the most rapidly growing industries. I think one of the single most rapidly growing jobs in Minnesota the past year has been solar technicians. Despite the pandemic, actually, the industry was continued to have a positive growth, which we're thankful for. We have personal experience at our place in Bacchus where we have RREAL Solar, the market rate solar design build company. They were able to work through most of everything, as it was considered what's the word is considered an essential service is what I meant to say. Here's showing year by year, the lighter blue being 2017, then 2018, and the green 2019. Certain amount of countries, showing how stable it is and how it can almost be contingent on certain economical factors in countries and other incentives. Perhaps China has taken a hit in the past year, but the United States sees stable growth, and that's the trajectory. Like I said, in 2020, we were able to see more continued stable growth. So this is I stole some slides from some other presentations, and this is one I like to say a lot. I reckon it's not too much different in Iowa of a circumstance, but we get a lot of skeptical people, even people that walk into our office or call in asking about solar, saying, "Well, it makes a lot of sense in Arizona, but why would we have it here in Minnesota, where it's a third as efficient as if you had it, in the desert somewhere?" Well, short answer is yes, solar does work well in Minnesota, and I would actually consider it a still undercapitalized resource. In that, if you compare it to countries that are ahead of the game in deploying solar, like Germany, that has about 8 or 9% of its total electrical grid um, exclusively supplied by solar energy, not just renewables, which can include a lot of other things like wood burning and hydroelectric. But if it works for them and they're ahead of the game as far as per capita deployment of solar energy and have a poorer solar resource than Minnesota does, I wouldn't let that be a deterrent from its potential here in the Midwest. Of course, that doesn't mean to say that it isn't more efficient in states like Arizona, of course. It just helps put everything into perspective. So, introduction aside, maybe that was more interesting for some than others. But to get into what we do, um, Real and Real Solar here in Bacchus. Real started as a nonprofit in 2000, and with the mission to make solar energy accessible to people of all income levels. And we achieved that at the time by gathering data of homes that qualified for energy assistance through local CAP agencies and seeing what we could do. It had kind of a grassroots start in that it was predominantly volunteer driven. And we would install solar air furnaces on individual residential homes that qualified for energy assistance to offset their heating load during the winter time. And we also had educational programs to help achieve that mission. Over time, though, once we kind of built more of a workforce and got a knack for installing solar systems, we started doing some market rate work on the side. And that was considered our unrelated business income. A certain percentage of what we did was market rate stuff for people, businesses, or homes. But it started becoming so popular that we couldn't jeopardize the nonprofit status in installing, commercial or residential solar electric jobs. So we have launched a separate for-profit subsidiary, which is now governed by its own directors and will eventually become a worker-owned co-op later this year, in how they're structuring it with the company's shares to manage its growth. And that's it can cause some confusion when people look us up online, but that's the relationship. So it started from one parent company, and we're two companies under the same roof. Here's some of the work that has been done in the past. And to give you an idea of sizing systems. I like this photo. This person's house has solar electric, as you see, solar water heat, as you see, and two solar air furnaces uh, mounted to the south wall of the house for the winter time. And you'll see that one of them is homemade and one of them is our manufactured design. And this particular manufactured design of ours, we call the solar powered furnace. It was patented in the late 2000s, and we manufactured them for some years. we stopped because we kind of just doubled down on the solar electric game just because that's what's hot right now and that's what everyone wants. It's more of a niche market to find people interested in solar thermal. However, solar thermal has a higher BTU rating. Site specific, just like wind and solar and any renewable energy system, but it can be great for small homes. And uh, what we have done is we actually sold the rights to design to a group and helped them start up their shop. And they're in Ponsford, Minnesota, in the White Earth Nation. And it's actually an American Indian run um, manufacturing outlet. And these are once available to the market once again. And if anyone's interested, I can get people in touch with the website or the contact of those who make it. They are still regarded as some of the most efficient solar air furnaces available today. That's one we did in the church. To get into the nonprofit work and its compelling message, and what kind of brought me to REAL 3.5 years ago, essentially right out of high school, is its message about energy poverty and addressing energy poverty through renewable energy. So this graph just helps give you an idea that, of course, we all, no matter what income level, have to pay a base amount every month in energy costs, be it heating or cooling. In Minnesota, particularly heating, and it gets so cold here in the winter that it's dangerous to think about being in a situation where you expend so much of your income toward energy bills that you have to. It kind of makes a conundrum of whether you're choosing to heat or eat or pay off auto repairs or whatever the case may be. Um, this one animated slide. Um, this is one of the oldest photos before we even nailed down a permanent logo. And kind of the original volunteer crew with the mission statement there. But yeah, to continue on with that, particularly our founder, Jason Edens, who I have a slide about later, um, he was struggling a winter. He was in school and had a hard time paying his heating bills. So he applied for a necessary program that exists that some people may be familiar with, called bill assistance or energy assistance. There's a lot of money given through federal funds each and every year, somewhere between 3 and 5 billion each given year, and millions spent on the state level, of course. And that is administrated by local CAP agencies, community action agencies, is how the funds are divvied up, and usually where you can get help applying for. But he wanted to ask if there was any program or like a low interest loan program that he could install a solar energy system on his house instead, but was discouraged to find that no program of the sort existed. Now, when you think about these important safety nets when it comes to bill assistance, it's great in that people need the help. However, it doesn't empower families, and it doesn't address the root cause of the problem. So when you think about a state like Minnesota giving hundreds of millions of dollars each and every year to pay people's heating bills, you have to think, how is that not just a form of a subsidy to these big oil and gas companies? Um, Essentially, all that money um, uh, going going to subsidize not non-clean forms of energy. Moreover, it doesn't give a family confidence in owning a a their own renewable energy system. So that's kind of the philosophy. There's our founder, Jason Edens, an early photo of him. Like I said, he started out of his home in 2000. And here are some of I mentioned this earlier. Some of REAL's first solar assistance installs. Um, you can see we have some more solar furnaces, solar forced air heat systems, which some of you may know about the technology, some of you may not. Kind of obscure, but it works very well. And as you can see, these homes may not be the tightest built homes. And it's easy to imagine how it can get pretty rough in months like January and February. However, we've been very adaptive and we have grown, and we have stuck to the same mission, but have worked towards addressing it in different ways. Like I said, not as much volunteer led with the solar furnaces as much anymore. And then you also have to rely on grant funding and other things to achieve your mission. But lately, we found our knack in working closely with Habitat for Humanity chapters when they do a build. Of course, uh, the homeowner of a Habitat home puts sweat equity into building the home and has a lower mortgage with the actual loan holder being the Habitat organization, and they don't have to pay um, high interest or anything. But household expenses still continue. The heating and the electrical still costs the same. And that's where we come in, and we fully fund our raise through grants and donor support. And we'll add a solar installation to the build. And this works great. These partnerships work great because each Habitat chapter does multiple homes each year. And if they can be in communication with us, we can talk about the orientation of the house, and we can talk about the interconnection with the utility, and we can coordinate these things together. So we've been doing about 3 or 4 of them on a given year, and it's been popular, and we will continue moving forward with that. Another way we achieve our mission is through community solar arrays. Some of you may know about the concept of community solar. And we currently, what we've currently done with that is the tail end of last year, we commissioned a large, I think like 50 kilowatt array on uh, it was actually a ground mount, but it was for one of these cap agencies. So that will help them better serve their area in having that credit coming every month that can be then given towards energy assistance recipients. So it's not as direct as putting solar on each qualifying person's home, but it still works out in the end. And then we have ventured into some work in other places in the country and internationally, as you see in the picture in the bottom right. A little more into Solar for Humanity. I did just speak on this, but some more slides. Another animated slide. Just to give you an idea, these families that qualify, that are first in line for these Habitat installs, are oftentimes families of 6 and 7. The current one that we're set to build in the spring in Crosby, Minnesota, it's a single parent with 6 kids. So there's still a lot to be paid for mortgage and well, not just the mortgage, but like on the slide for food, for healthcare, for insurance, and for energy needs. So having the solar array, even if it's just a 4 to 5 kilowatt array, that still offsets $150 each month, which can really make or break someone's financial situation. The kind of families that qualify for these households are usually on an income of about 30,000 a year for like a family of 4 or more. So um, definitely need the help. Here are some of the installs that we've done with Habitat chapters in the area. Bottom right was in Brainerd, Minnesota. We have one in Crosby, and this one was near St. Cloud. I think Foley was the name of the town. Here are some of the community solar arrays we've done. What we currently are working on with community solar is, like I mentioned, the one at the CAP agency, which will help free up more funds to better serve the area as far as energy assistance goes. But we've also done one on the American Indian Housing Organization in Duluth. This one was done in Vermont, which is, falls a little outside our service territory, but Vermont is a unique state where their state actually has a cutout for their federal energy assistance funds, specifically for solar. So we helped develop this project, and we did the design and partially fundraised for this group. And that was Southeastern Vermont Community Action Agency. And the one on the right was a few years ago, and that's in the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe, which is just 30 minutes north of where we are here in Bacchus, in the Cass Lake Walker area in Minnesota. But not just with the CAP agency. What we are currently going on is 5 community solar arrays going up in the White Earth Nation, which is about an hour northwest of us here. And we have those arrays at facilities like a daycare, like a women's shelter, and other like public use facilities in the area. A little bit about the structure, the model. I won't get into that too much, but yeah, we use either grants or investor funds. I can get into that a little bit more when I talk about how we tackled our Solar for Schools installation, and how the credits coming in gives savings to a larger number of beneficiaries that we're able to serve, as opposed to doing the individual residential installs. It's cheaper to well, I guess to say it this way, why spend $100,000 on it'd probably be like 4 or 5 single households annual electrical needs, when you could spend the same amount of money, deploy more watts per dollar spent, and use it to benefit a wider group of people, maybe 6 to 7 households is part of the idea there. I have the next few slides dedicated to our work overseas. Now, I will caution it in saying that REAL did get together with all its staff and board. It's funny, in March, just before the pandemic hit, and then a week after this strategic visioning retreat, we actually closed our office. But we were planning. It's hard to say we were planning so far ahead when all these unexpected things rose up. But we were planning for the next few years, And we made the intentional decision to refocus the mission on making a measurable impact in our backyard in northern Minnesota, in greater Minnesota, basically just representing rural Minnesota, excluding the metro area. And um, before we were kind of a little bit all over the place, but with new leadership in the strategic visioning retreat, we came to the consensus that it would be a good idea to reel it in a bit so we could have more of a measurable impact. Um, of course, a country like Liberia, only 2% of the population will have access to an electrical grid. If you're in rural Liberia, it's safe to say you won't have access to an electrical grid, and many of the hospitals are put in very tough situations in dealing with that. So we had, despite us revising our our vision a little bit in serving more regional areas, we still had some ongoing commitments. We were finishing up last year an installation at a hospital in rural Liberia. We had another one that we were still fundraising for that is set to be completed later this year, another 80 miles away at another rural clinic in Liberia. And we had an ongoing commitment to a group that was doing a orphanage in Uganda, through an organization in the metro called African Children Today. So we've done a number of projects in Africa. We've also done a small one in Zimbabwe for another small clinic. Um, and that's great because we can get in touch with a lot of support, a different group of supporters to help us with this work, particularly the um, evangelical Lutheran church community in Minnesota that's very strong, and kind of help push this along and help fund this work. Um, Getting more into our programs, we do a lot with education and community outreach. That's how I was exposed to REAL personally. I growing up in the Pine River Baptist School District here, I REAL had a strong presence in the community and also at the school in particularly. I remember them going into science classes, um, various interns that they had, AmeriCorps Vistas at the time, giving presentations about solar and solar industry jobs, and also just being at various community events. And I always kept in the back of my mind, like, this is something I might want to do. And I actually volunteered for the organization a little bit my senior year from high school, and it was just a natural fit. So we try to pride ourselves in having a strong presence in the local community. However, COVID has impacted that a little bit in that we don't quite as much go around and do the school presentations like we used to. But nonetheless, we have done a lot with students, a lot with schools, and we're proud to say that we recently finished up a K through 8 solar curriculum that is free to use and available on our websites, and was done according to, I think it's called like Next Generation Science Standards was approved. There were also other educators that were involved in the process of making this, and you can find that all free to use on our website. And that's a K through 8 curriculum with a lot of activities and helpful info books and whatnot, and it can be converted into a work at home format. So it's still very helpful. Yes, so we've done some solar installations on schools. This was at the local high school, and was the largest system we've ever installed. It is 808 kilowatts, and we did that in conjunction with a install on the neighboring rival school, Pequot Lakes, Minnesota, um, which served about 35% of the school's electricity needs, whereas this one in Pine River, slightly smaller school in a bigger array, serves over half of the school's annual electrical needs. And we also did two 40-kilowatt systems each at a local community college, Central Lakes College, which has campuses in Brainerd and Staples, Minnesota. And we had a lot of different partners and investors in getting involved in this project. It took many, many years to come to fruition. And it was also largely funded by rural development loans. And that's the one at the Pequot Lake School, roof-mounted system, which was installed mostly through the winter, which was very interesting. We found that it wasn't the most efficient for our crew to spend half the time building the system actually just removing snow, but they powered through it. Electric vehicle charging stations is something that we are just starting to get a knack for. Haven't done too many of them, but we've done 4 or 5 at this point, and that was in 2 of them were built in conjunction with this Solar for Schools project at the Pequot Lakes and Pine River high schools. Well, I had some more slides here about some more current work, but I must have saved it to a different spot in my file explorer. But that's okay. I just I had more to say about the community solar arrays that are currently going up in White Earth in our work with tribes, and we when we go in and do these things, whether it be at a local school or somewhere like in the White Earth Nation, we don't want to just install our work, get up and leave, but we also want to kind of pass along some of the knowledge that comes with it, as long as along with job opportunities. So with our current arrays that are going up in White Earth, we have an internship program to have people who are interested in the solar workforce building alongside our crew and in learning about solar energy. We have an educator in the area too that's doing like classroom setting classes with them. And as well as with the Solar for Schools, we as we install these arrays, we also pass along our in-school curriculum for the students to learn alongside their on-site demonstration, and hopefully help build a workforce in rural Minnesota. A lot of the competition comes from the metro area. There are solar installation companies in the greater Minnesota area are few and far between. We're one of the only ones, and we would like to see it as an industry grow, especially now as you see a large pipeline being built through the area, and everyone talking about jobs in that aspect. However, when the pipeline is installed, it's only going to sustain about 20 jobs. Not like the rush is now, where it's a lot of short-term work. And moreover, a lot of the trucks in the area that are currently working on this have license plates from all over, and people move around for this work and are coming from out of state. Whereas we're interested in kind of building more of a clean energy workforce in our neck of the woods that can be more sustained more long term. But with all that aside, I think that covers most of REAL's current work, and I will I'll give it back to Heidi or whoever, and I'll try my best to answer any questions that people have.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. And we do have a couple of questions already in the chat. Feel free to chime in, folks, or add more questions to the chat. Kyle, Andy, and I are both wondering more about the using LIHEAP and the CAP organizations using solar to help folks who qualify for the heating assistance programs. Can you talk more about how that works with REAL?
Yeah, we're still currently working on refining our community solar process, because a lot of the arrays that we've built in the past, except with the exception of the one in Vermont, is more of an indirect way to address that problem, in that we fund an array for a group like the local CAP organization, and they just receive the credits, and then it's dispersed more indirectly for energy assistance programs. Um, as far as like actually having one that is directly funded from LIHEAP funds, and then like through a subscription base is brought to households that qualify. Um, there isn't Minnesota doesn't have the current state policy for that. We're not as much of an advocacy organization, however, we do dabble a little bit. What we would like to see is a state carve out for solar energy when they do divvy up the funds for energy assistance. So we're kind of that's always been the idea, but we haven't really seen it come to light yet here. And right now we're at a point where a lot of people are struggling, understandably, and people are more prioritizing the budget for these shorter term needs. But we eventually want to see what we can do to maybe lobby for such a cutout, so we could get behind some of these community solar projects that actually would have a subscription base that was more direct.
Great. Jolene asked if you ever use solar and geothermal mixed in the habitat projects.
No, never have. In fact, I don't know too much about geothermal, admittedly.
James is wondering if in your international efforts, have you ever worked with Peace Corps volunteers?
No, we have not. We work with the AmeriCorps, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Minnesota Green Corps. Never Peace Corps. But like I said, we've only done 4 projects in Africa. So maybe if that was something we were to do more in the future, that would it'd be a good idea to get in touch with some people in Peace Corps. I know some people personally who have done that, and it's a very cool organization, of course.
And then Anne is wondering, Anne, chime in if I ask this question wrong. I think Anne is wondering about solar or battery systems at residential habitat houses, if any of them have had battery systems installed. I think that's what that question means.
No. Well, one other combination that we've done with Habitat is we have installed those solar furnaces too on Habitat homes in the past, which is solar air heat. It's a closed loop system where it has a cold air intake from the inside of the house, and it goes through the heater, and is kicked back out with a smart thermometer, saying that once the inner core temp of the collector is above 80 degrees or whatever you set it at, it will blow the forced air through whatever existing HVAC system or however it's configured. But as far as battery systems go, we have not, just because the sobering answer is that battery systems are just expensive. Oftentimes they're twice as expensive as your typical grid tied system. the batteries themselves and the extra electrical components cost substantially more. And because we do fundraise for each one of these builds, we want to we want to we want to be able to serve as many families as we can. So we haven't necessarily fundraised for a battery-based system for one of these families. However, we've done a lot of battery-based systems, but that's largely through the market rate work of our solar design build firm, Real Solar.
All right. Anyone else have questions? I have a follow-up question about CAP if no one else does. So when you say that they're giving out credits to people, is that because they're able to do that through Minnesota's like community solar rules for like this household A gets the credit from panel A? Is that sort of how that's working? Or it's just moving money around in CAP in their budget?
No, we're trying to get that structured for an upcoming project actually. But no, when I say credits, I'm talking about the net metering credits, just
Okay.
from Minnesota's. You of course know about that. But that's what we achieved in the installation we've done in Vermont. And perhaps I should follow up and show you the case study we did with that project. That was a subscription basis, more of a direct community solar model that perhaps made a little bit more sense. But no, the current way we've been doing it is just through the net metering credits.
Okay, cool. And a few more questions. Can you talk about the utility relationship in your community solar projects?
Well, because we've been around for so long and have commissioned most of the solar systems in greater Minnesota through, whether it be through REAL's programs in the past or through the for-profit Real Solar, we have contacts at each of these utilities, and we're oftentimes one of the first systems that they've had to interconnect with, and have built good relationships. So we perhaps some colleagues that have been here longer could speak to some more some less friendly interactions. We've recently maintained it's been a smooth process for us. I think because we've built all those relationships, and some former employees of Real have actually gone on to work at some of these utilities. So,
Are the habitat projects new builds or remodels of existing homes?
the ones that we've recently done that I can speak to since I've been at the organization have all been new builds, and our local habitat chapters. I don't know if I want to speak for all. I would assume it's pretty uniform all over the Midwest, but they're tight homes. They're efficient builds, and of course, if you look at energy as like a pyramid of conservation, it's more important to address energy efficient needs first before considering solar installations. So they work really well for the families, and a small system like a 4 kilowatt system has saved families up to $150 on a given month, which is huge. But they're new builds, and actually helped. It's fun because as as you manage these projects and you talk with the people at Habitat and the homeowners and whoever else, you can go visit these sites, and I've been able to help out at some of them from time to time. But yeah, new builds.
Follow up to that, are they all electric homes?
No, they aren't all. The last couple were electric slab in-floor heat. I want to say that other ones have utilized natural gas.
And then Anne, is there a question? I see do. but not a whole question. Feel free to unmute yourself and chime in if that's easier. Got just a few minutes left, so get your last questions in.
Yeah. Well, what REAL prides itself in is it's not merely like a policy organization, but we pride ourselves in spending most of the organizations earn dollars toward deploying these systems and doing this work. And over the course of its life, we've installed hundreds of arrays in various configurations. We've deployed with solar thermal, solar electric, battery based, grid tied with battery backup. And we've done individual residential low income installs. We've also tried the community solar arrays and overseas. And we're currently working on another solar for schools project in Kansas. Again, that was another pre-2020 obligation that we're working to finish up. But yeah, that's and with our relationship with the for-profit solar design build company, we kind of have a preferred contractor that shares our office with us. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship where we're able to really get these projects off the ground quickly with project management staff in our office who will drop everything to work with us.
All right, we've got two more questions. Can you give the name of the company that manufactures the solar furnaces?
Yes, let me pull that up right now. Let me stop screen sharing. I'll just make this thing. They're called 8th Layer Solar, and they have a website. We're currently working on a marketing plan with them so we can get a better sense of pricing and how we will put together a hardware package for each panel is one thing we haven't quite figured out yet. But there's the website. And I'd be happy to send a follow-up email with any other questions or linking to other resources. But do check them out because they are a small group. They're just starting, but we're really hoping that it grows and it creates more jobs in the area because it is, some of these counties in northern Minnesota, are some of the most low income concentrated areas in the state, and whatever we can do to help bring jobs to those areas is well, that's the idea.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. We are out of time. Thank you to everyone who came and listened, and thank you so much to Kyle for sharing your story with us.
Yes, thanks for getting me in. Yeah, and I guess we have a hard stop at 1 or.
The Zoom can keep going if you have more time and people want to ask more questions.
Well, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your organization, what you do. I understand you're in Decorah, so Winneshiek must be the county then?
Winneshiek is the county, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're 10 years old. This was our 10th anniversary year, which was fun. And we are working on sort of market transformation and also boots on the ground energy efficiency for homes, businesses, and farms. So we have an AmeriCorps team that does a lot of direct installs to homes. This year we're doing contactless light bulb deliveries instead. And then just working on making sure that all the pieces are in place. So we work with the banks for financing and the solar contractors and do outreach for folks. So yeah, it's nice. Your organizations are a fun pair.
Yeah, and very, very similar. We've dabbled in weatherization in the past too. And one of the things with us when we are focusing on rural Minnesota, we're also looking at mobile home communities. And there's a lot of weatherization work to be done there. So we've actually just been recently trying to rope in some other partners that specialize in work like you do.
Nice. Maybe the MPCA needs to have a little branch of the program is Green Iowa AmeriCorps run through the University of North Iowa, and it's teams of 4 to 5 members, and they just do home energy upgrades.
Nice.
So maybe you should get the MPCA to get a team together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciated learning about what y'all do. And I do a little bit of education. I'm one of the AmeriCorps members with WED. And I am supposed to be doing our education materials. But like you, this year things are a little different. We're not going to schools or doing after school stuff.
Yeah.
So, kind of distance programming. But I'm going to check out that solar stuff you guys have and see if we could fit it in to some various things. So
Yeah, use it. It's free. The only thing we ask is that you leave your information and say that use it because we like to hear the feedback. But it's on our website on the home page. You can find the link to it. Thank you. So if there aren't any more questions, oh, I just got a chat.
Oh, I should have known Andy was already working on that.
Ah, very good. Okay, we'll stay tuned. So.
All right, well, I'm going to stop recording and